we turned a forgotten catacomb into a monster's lair, and every bone, coin and shadow tells part of the story. I'm Ellie Cooper, Creative Director at Athena Productions, and I'll be breaking down how we designed this monster lair from references to final composition. This video is part of our Merchant Disaster series. We started with the caravan scene, where an unknown monster had viciously attacked them, leaving no survivors. You can watch that video in the top right now, or via the link in the description below. In this video, our main character has tracked down that monster to its lair, and this is the moment just before the final fight. Let's get started. If you've watched our videos before, you've probably heard me say this a lot now, but we always start with references. Every single time. It's an absolute must. We spend time gathering ideas and reference images so that we have a clear direction from the very start. Without that, it's very easy to head off in 50 different directions and feel like you're getting nowhere. It's a great way to really frustrate yourself early on. And realistically, no one can draw everything from memory. For this scene, we collected references for catacombs, composition, lighting, and atmosphere. We also reused a lot of our references from the Merchant Disaster Caravan image to make sure the art direction flows naturally between the two scenes. We don't want someone feeling as though it's from two completely separate projects. Maintaining that consistency is really important, and it's a great lesson for if you are on a project for, let's say, 2 months, 6 months, or even longer. Since this is a catacomb that the monster has made its home, we need to reinforce that visually. We have plenty of references and use an old medieval style with arches, so perhaps it's beneath a cathedral or a church or something like that. And it's also a great way to split the level into rooms as well as adding some interest. We don't want it to be one big empty and open room with no interest. It'll just be boring. It also means that players can hide or dodge around architectural elements during battles, or perhaps they can use it to sneak. And while we know it's a catacomb, players won't unless we show it clearly. So as we go, we add more storytelling elements to reinforce the narrative, such as scattered bones from the crypts. Using weight painting and scattering tools, we're able to control where skeletons and skulls appear. This lets us skip the tedious task of placing them one by hand, while we're still being very intentional about build-up and placement. It also subtly tells the story that this monster isn't just hoarding gold, it's consuming people, which makes it far more dangerous than it first appeared. Using sculpt mode, we shape the piles of gold. The gold is actually placed beneath the mud and ground plane, and by sculpting the terrain, we selectively reveal where the gold appears. Some is buried beneath the mud, some is piled on top. For the coins themselves, we use a flat 2D texture applied to simple cylinders. Since these coins won't be viewed up close, this gives us enough detail without unnecessary complexity or wasted time modelling an elaborate coin. It's just not necessary. We also remove the centre of the coin. It's a design choice just to make it a little bit more interesting. And historically, people in China and Scandinavia would have a hole in the coin to string them together to keep them safe. So it was a nice little detail to include, which also makes the coin feel a bit more interesting than just this very solid, weighty coin that, you know, is just sitting there. It's just an extra bit of interest for the eye. To help balance the composition, we add elements in the near foreground on the left side of the image. This helps add depth and guides the viewer's eye. Having foreground, midground and background elements gives the illusion of depth to what is ultimately just a flat 2D image. And it's a technique that you'll often see in concept art, but also photography as well. For example, a blurred rock or an object that's in the foreground. It just gives that extra depth and interest to the image. Once we have an idea of where the creature will be and the general environment layout were established, we adjusted the camera to better showcase the space. We also removed some scaffolding that was blocking the main corridor, as it was just taking up too much space in the composition. And this is what the process is really about and what it is truly like. You try things, you realise they don't work, and you have to be willing to change direction quickly. We also added steps leading down into the layer. These add as both an entrance and an exit for the player, so that they understand where their path is going, but now the monster stands between them and safety. Ceiling grates are also added to introduce more natural light and help guide the eye. And we repeat these elements in the scene to give ourselves more natural lighting opportunities as we consider how the player might navigate the space without having tons of fake lights in there. While we have gold coins scattered about, we know that this creature targets merchant caravans for a reason. With that in mind, we want to add in more stolen riches such as gold pots, chalices and wooden chests that may hold any number of expensive items. We do this so that we can tie together our two scenes in a more narrative way. Now the player knows this creature is taking these items, it is attacking the caravans, and what its motive may be. Using Character Creator, we were able to start from a template and modify it quickly. It's a great way to create characters that are already rigged and posed while still being able to create something that is unique to you. And once we're happy, we bring that creature into Blender and we place it in the scene. Right now, we just want to see how it looks in case we need to modify its pose or what else we may need to add that extra fear factor to it. After that, we moved our player character into position just so that we have a narrative element, but also so that it can help somebody understand the scale of the area. We also don't want the character to be out in the open. We want to play on that tension, as though the creature has heard something or noticed movement. Perhaps the player character has accidentally kicked a chalice or a coin and it's gone scuttling away over the flagstones, and now we're seconds away from the fight. We keep adding in various storytelling elements as well, such as stone tombs to the space. Some have their lids open, others are still sealed, to further reinforce the original function of the area before the monster made it its home. To dress the monster, we used Marvelous Designer. It's a physics-based cloth simulation tool that allows us to create clothing and simulate how it falls on the character. You can create some really simple items or more complex garments. If you're creating your own characters for concept art, Marvelous Designer pairs really well with tools such as MetaHumans or Character Creator. As you can't always reuse character assets that you've bought online, you may need to create your own unique ones. Once the clothing was finished, we added the monster back into the scene and can continue refining the final composition. Now that we've finished, we're just going to break down the image and explain some of the decisions that we've made. So of course we have the monster here and it is illuminated in light. We want to make sure that the player's eye is drawn to that spot. We never want characters, or rather players, to not know where they're supposed to go. So we're kind of using some natural light from here to illuminate the monster, and also by using the coins we get that real pop where people's eye is very much drawn to that spot. And we also use, as we've been discussing, elements such as skulls and bones and things like this. You know, you can see them throughout, that the monster has very obviously been feeding, and that we're also reinforcing the setting. You know, we have these crypts and tombs here, and some of them are open, suggesting that this monster's been pushing aside some of the lids so that it can access some of the bodies that are within to consume, and also that perhaps it has dragged people back to its lair with some of the skulls that are laid around. And we also utilise some of the architecture to create interesting spots for the players to be able to hide and dodge. And also by using some of these elements such as the tombs here, we're able to suggest that the player could use these spots to go in between, to dodge and escape the monster, or perhaps to use it for stealth. It's entirely up to them. And we try and also indicate where the player may be able to go afterwards, so that there is no doubt of where your aim is. We want the player to confront this monster. We don't want them just to avoid the fight entirely, but we also have the indication of, once you're finished, this is where you're going, but this obstacle is now in your path and you must deal with it. And we were also utilising a lot of light from the grates here. So we've repeated that around this area, so you can see kind of some of the light that's dropping here as well. And it's a clever way for us to utilise natural lighting without having to use fake lights in there, but instead trying to use the environment around us and trying to plausibly explain why there is light coming down into this space when it is very clearly underground. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to check out our other Merchant Disaster video, and don't forget to like, subscribe and follow along on our social media for more environment and concept art breakdowns from Athena Productions. See you next time.